Imagine dropping like $60,000 on a state-of-the-art electric vehicle.
Right. A huge investment.
Yeah, I mean, you love the screen, the smooth acceleration, the completely silent cabin. It's great. But then the manufacturer faces some financial trouble and just shuts down their headquarters.
Which, is a very real thing happening right here.
Exactly. So suddenly, a minor software glitch happens, and you take it in, and your local mechanic tells you they literally cannot fix it because the company's servers went dark.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Your high-tech marvel just turned into a very heavy, very expensive brick just sitting in your driveway.
That is a nightmare scenario.
It really is. And welcome to this segment of Auto News Talk, because we are unpacking a massive, massive shift in the automotive world. I mean, for years, the industry basically acted like the future was this straight, unavoidable highway leading directly to ultra-luxury electric vehicles.
Yeah, that was the entire narrative.
But the consumer has effectively slammed on the brakes. And the entire industry, from the global factory floor down to your neighborhood mechanic, is just scrambling to rewrite the playbook.
It's honestly a phenomenal pivot to watch unfold. The stakes could not be higher. We are looking at a massive multi-billion-dollar global industry caught in this incredibly precarious balancing act.
Yeah, and it's fascinating because on one side, you have these futuristic technological ambitions, right?
Right, and on the other, you have the very real, very unforgiving constraints of the average buyer's wallet.
So to map out the terrain we're walking through for everyone listening, we're going to trace how this plays out from the bottom up.
Makes sense.
We'll start with the stark reality of consumer finances because, well, that ultimately dictates everything.
Marks follow the money.
Always. And from there, we'll explore how automakers are desperately shifting their manufacturing and their product lines to adapt to that financial reality.
And then we'll see how that pressure trickles down to impact the actual dealerships on the ground.
Yeah. And finally, we're going to dig into that nightmare scenario I mentioned at the start. That looming battle over who actually controls your car once it is parked in your garage.
And it really all begins with the buyer. I mean, if you dive into the data from the McKinsey Mobility Consumer Pulse, there's a fundamental behavioral shift happening right in front of us.
Okay, lay it out for me. What are they seeing?
So buyers are demanding high-end technology, but they are simultaneously facing severe financial constraints.
Right.
And those two completely opposing forces are reshaping automotive demand on a global scale.
It's a massive contradiction. It's like walking into a fancy strut house with like a fast food budget, but you sit down and you're still demanding the Wagyu beef.
That is exactly what it's like.
I mean, how can buyers insist on having advanced self-driving software when they can barely afford the base model of the car?
It's a profound disconnect. And the McKinsey survey research actually gives us the exact numbers behind this squeeze. They found that 32% of consumers are planning to delay their next vehicle purchase, specifically due to financial constraints.
Wow. A third of the market is just saying, you know what, I'll wait.
Yeah, just pausing completely. And on top of that, 45% are considering buying a smaller vehicle category than they originally planned.
So the instinct is to just downsize or wait it out entirely.
Exactly. About 60% of people cited value for money as a top purchase factor, which, is second only to quality.
Right.
But here's the real curveball of the McKinsey data. Brand loyalty is essentially dying at the hands of technology.
Wait, really? Brand loyalty? That used to be everything in auto.
Not anymore. Roughly 1 in 4 respondents reported they would be very likely to switch brands entirely just to get better self-driving functionality.
1 in 4?
Yeah, and in China, that number jumps to 50%. Half the market is willing to jump ship for better tech.
That is wild. I mean, the idea that a family who has driven nothing but Fords for like 3 generations would just jump to a completely different brand just because the latest software is slightly better.
It terrifies legacy automakers.
It has to. But let's look at the math here, because there is a memorable detail in that McKinsey research that just perfectly illustrates the crisis we're talking about.
Oh, the inventory numbers.
Yes. Nearly 1/3 of all new vehicle inventory right now carries an estimated monthly payment above $1,000.
$1,000 a month. Just for a standard daily driver.
Right. I mean, that's a mortgage payment for some people. But at the exact same time, the survey points out that 50% of consumers expect to spend less than $40,000 in total on their next vehicle.
While the average new car list price is sitting well above $50,000.
Exactly. The math is just completely broken.
It doesn't work. The practical implication for the market is that automakers and their marketing teams have to completely pivot.
Because they can't just keep pushing $50,000, $60,000 luxury boxes.
Exactly. They must emphasize value, and they have to figure out how to offer that standard high-end technology at much lower price points if they actually want to win over this highly price-conscious buyer.
But here is the massive blind spot in those McKinsey numbers, I think. Sure, the data proves consumers want cheaper tech. We all want cheaper tech.
Right.
But can legacy automakers actually afford to pack these lower-priced vehicles with standard advanced technology without completely bleeding out their profit margins? I mean, the R&D for autonomous driving isn't cheap.
No, it's not. That is the million-dollar question, and it takes us straight to the factory floor. Because if the consumer is effectively going on a buyer's strike over these $1,000 payments, well, that panic travels instantly up the supply chain.
Oh, for sure.
Automakers are rapidly altering their global manufacturing footprints just to survive.
And we're seeing some serious whiplash out there. I mean, for years, the messaging was so clear. EVs are the immediate future, full stop.
Yeah, that was the drumbeat.
But you read the industry updates, and suddenly you hear about canceled electric SUVs and massive new investments in V8 engines. Are these companies just like throwing spaghetti at the wall to see what sticks?
It definitely looks chaotic from the outside, but there is a mechanical logic to it. If you look at the reporting on Honda's North American production strategy, their overarching strategy is prioritizing regionalized manufacturing.
Okay, so building closer to the buyer.
Exactly. They want to build vehicles exactly where the most demand is, rather than relying on this homogenized global supply chain.
That makes sense. The reports actually note Honda is eyeing an 8th factory in North America, which completely tracks when you realize the region accounts for about 40% of their global sales.
Right.
So for you, the buyer, this means the wait time and the sticker price of your next car will depend heavily on what continent you happen to live on.
Because demand isn't uniform at all. Another industry analysis highlighted in that same reporting points out that in Germany, electric vehicles actually outsold every other vehicle type in a single month.
Why, outsold everything?
Yeah. The breakdown was around 84,000 EVs compared to 83,000 traditional hybrids and only 60,000 gas-powered cars.
So the European market is heavily adopting full electrification,
While the North American market is really pushing back.
Interesting. There's a great quote from Honda CEO Toshihiro Maeve in the reporting. He states pretty plainly, he says, "The basic idea is to produce in a place where there is demand."
It sounds like common sense, but the physical reality of actually doing that is incredibly complex.
Oh, I bet moving factories isn't easy.
No, but the implication of localizing production is that it slashes logistics costs.
Right.
It drastically shortens supply lines, which we all know have been so vulnerable to global shocks.
Right.
And it acts as a critical shield against tariffs.
But what that executive commentary doesn't answer is what specific models, whether gas, hybrid, or full EV, this potential new North American factory would actually build.
That's a thing.
They know they need to build locally, but they still aren't sure what the local buyer will actually pay for.
And that uncertainty is really the defining characteristic of the industry. When you look at the auto news feed from Car and Driver, their coverage highlights just how stuck automakers are right now.
Yeah, they're caught in the middle.
They are balancing old priorities with new mandates, and it's leading to this wave of EV delays and a massive pivot toward hybrid and combustion models.
Yeah, Car and Driver reports the Honda Prologue electric SUV is just dead after just 3 years on the market.
3 years.
And Toyota has delayed production of their 2027 Highlander EV. But then on the flip side, you have vehicles like the 2027 Subaru Crosstrek Sport and the Kia Niro going hybrid only.
And the pressure on the EVs that are sitting on dealership lots is immense. The reporting notes that Maserati slashed the price of the Grecale Folgore by $23,000 just to get the units moving.
Let me just stop you there for a second. A $23,000 discount on a single vehicle.
I know.
I mean, what were the profit margins in the first place for a manufacturer to be able to just shave the price of a compact car off the sticker and still even operate?
It tells you they are likely taking heavy losses just to clear inventory. And you have to contrast those EV struggles with the combustion investments also noted in the newsfeed.
Right.
Like Land Rover is actually dropping a turbo 4-cylinder engine so they can stuff a massive 5.0-liter V8 into the Defender.
It's totally going backwards. Plus, they're managing these massive resource-draining recalls at the same time. Ford, for example, is dealing with a recall of 741,000 trucks and SUVs, over a rollaway risk.
The underlying mechanism here is so fascinating. The implication of all these updates from car and driver is that manufacturers are essentially trying to change the engines on an airplane while it's already in flight.
That's a great way to put it.
They are using massive discounts to spur EV adoption, while heavily relying on the profit margins from high-performance gas engines and new hybrid lineups to actually fund that multi-billion-dollar transition.
It's an incredibly precarious strategy, and honestly, what this doesn't answer is how long automakers can practically sustain this dual approach.
Not forever.
Right. You cannot indefinitely heavily discount EVs while simultaneously spending millions in R&D to develop new V8 combustion engines. Something has to give.
And the place where that tension gives way first is at the local dealership.
Yep.
Because while the manufacturers are shuffling their global supply chains, the dealerships are the ones taking the immediate hit on the front lines. They have to rapidly change how they actually make their money.
Right. And according to the Dealer Industry Weekly Roundup Hub, dealership buy-sell activity is just surging right alongside a vital pivot toward used cars and fixed operations.
And for anyone unfamiliar with the terminology, fixed operations is just industry speak for the service and parts departments.
The consolidation in the retail space is massive, too. The Roundup archives track major groups like Brookfield Auto Group and KKS Automotive acquiring more rooftops and expanding their footprints.
Because scale is the only way to survive.
Exactly. And the legal environment is incredibly tense, including a New York dealership suing General Motors for $15 million.
But let's look at where the actual money is changing hands. There is a detail from the dealership Roundup Hub that proves the absolute desperation for affordability.
Oh, the under 10K numbers.
Yes. It noted that over 150,000 used vehicles priced under $10,000 are being sold per month.
Wow. Let that sink in.
It connects perfectly back to our first point about the McKinsey data. When the average new car costs $50,000 and carries a $1,000 monthly payment, that sub-$10,000 market becomes the absolute lifeline for buyers.
It's the only thing they can afford.
Right. And the implication here is that the actual business model of a dealership is fundamentally shifting. They are no longer relying purely on moving shiny new inventory off the lot.
I can't.
No, they're leaning heavily on the less glamorous but highly profitable aspects of service menus, repairs, and older trade-ins.
Basically, the service bay is the new showroom.
Yeah.
The profit isn't in the sale. The profit is in keeping that car running for the next 10 years.
Precisely. However, there is a gap in our understanding of the broader retail health. What the Roundup archives don't fully answer is exactly why strong overall auto sales are masking this wavering retail demand.
Right, because the headline numbers look okay.
Exactly. It leaves a blind spot on whether it's massive fleet sales to rental companies or heavy manufacturer incentives that are artificially propping up the top-line numbers.
Which brings us to the most critical part of this entire landscape, I think. This is the true aha moment of this analysis. Because dealerships now rely so heavily on the service department for their profit margins, a massive fight has broken out over who actually has the data access required to fix modern cars.
This is the war for the service bay. If we look at the reporting on the vehicle data access fight, the right to repair policy debate has completely shifted.
Yeah.
It's no longer just about standardizing physical wrenches and specialized physical tools. It is entirely about who controls the diagnostic data and the software access required to keep a vehicle running.
To understand this, we have to realize that modern vehicles are software-defined. They aren't just mechanical machines anymore. They are rolling computers that receive over-the-air updates and operate in a walled garden coding environment.
Exactly. And the proposed Repair Act is right at the center of this battle. It would force automakers to share their diagnostic tools and repair data with independent shops.
Because right now, they don't have to.
Right. Independent mechanics argue that automakers are deliberately steering repairs back to those expensive franchise dealers by locking down the software.
And of course, the automakers push back, claiming that granting broad data access threatens cybersecurity, vehicle safety, and their intellectual property.
Yeah, that's their line.
But I have to challenge the automakers' excuse here. Are they genuinely worried about my car getting hacked by a malicious actor, or is cybersecurity just a really convenient buzzword they use to protect a multi-billion-dollar service monopoly?
That is the defining question for regulators. And the stakes for the owner are incredibly high. The reporting highlights the collapse of the EV maker Fisker, which serves as a terrifying case study for this exact issue.
Walk me through the mechanism of that, because I mentioned it at the top, but how does a car actually become a brick?
So Because a software-defined car requires a continuous, active, cloud-based server handshake to verify diagnostics.
Okay.
When you plug a scanner into an older car, it just reads a localized code. Simple. But with these new vehicles, the local mechanic's computer has to actually ping the manufacturer's server to authenticate the repair.
And if the server isn't there?
Right. When Fisker went under and there were concerns about their servers going dark, owners realized that a local mechanic physically cannot unlock the car's diagnostic port without that server connection.
So if the company goes bankrupt or just decides to stop supporting your model, you are completely locked out of your own property.
Yes. The implication of this policy fight is massive. If independent shops lose this battle, the cost of vehicle ownership will likely skyrocket. Consumers will be forced into a dealer-only monopoly for basic maintenance, software updates, and just standard diagnostics.
But the regulators are in a genuinely tough spot here, because what this debate doesn't answer is how lawmakers can realistically write a rule that gives your local mechanic open access to the car's brain without accidentally opening the door to actual dangerous hacking risks.
It's true. The balance between open source access and critical safety security is notoriously difficult to legislate, especially in a 2-ton machine traveling at highway speeds.
It's a huge risk. So you've covered an immense amount of ground here. Let's synthesize this and pull all these threads together. When we look across all of this reporting, 3 major themes really clearly emerge. First, affordability is the ultimate veto power.
Without a doubt. We see that supported heavily by the McKinsey data, where buyers are outright refusing payments over $1,000.
Right.
And it's perfectly reinforced by the Dealer Hub data, showing that massive 150,000 unit volume of sub-$10,000 used cars being sold every single month. No matter what tech the automakers invent, the consumer wallet dictates the pace of the industry.
Exactly. And the second theme is the reality of the hybrid bridge.
Right. Automakers are buying time. We see this supported by Honda's strategy to expand regional production to meet immediate local demand.
Yep.
And explicitly in the Car and Driver reports showing brands like Kia and Subaru pivoting their new models to be hybrid only. They are bridging the physical and financial gap between internal combustion and full electrification.
It's the only way they survive the transition. And the third theme is the battle for the post-sale ecosystem,
which is supported by the Dealer Hub's reporting on the intense dealership focus on fixed operations, paired directly with the right to repair data access fight over software control.
Yeah.
The financial transaction doesn't end when you buy the car. That is just the beginning of the revenue stream.
But there are also some massive contradictions defining this landscape. The first major tension is the clash between tech desire and tech lockout.
This is the ultimate paradox of the modern buyer, I think.
On
one hand, the McKinsey data clearly shows consumers are begging for advanced tech. I mean, they're willing to abandon brand loyalty entirely just for better self-driving features.
Right.
But on the other hand, the data access reporting shows that this very same advanced technology is the Trojan horse automakers use to monopolize the repair industry. The exact tech consumers desire is the trap they will eventually fall into.
It's a brilliant, if slightly sinister, business model.
It really is.
The second big tension is regional realities versus global ambitions.
We saw this clearly when comparing the European data against the U.S. market updates. The Honda reporting highlights EVs absolutely dominating German sales, just beating out gas and hybrids entirely.
Right, but then the Car and Driver reports show the U.S. market fiercely retreating to hybrids and giant V8 engines.
It completely fractures the decades-old idea that a manufacturer can just build one unified global car strategy.
You just can't do it anymore. So bringing this all home for everyone listening, there's one very practical takeaway here. When you buy a vehicle in this market, you aren't just buying metal and an engine block. You are buying into a software ecosystem, a specific dealership network, and a corporate strategy that is going to dictate your personal ownership costs for the next decade.
You are entering a binding partnership, whether you realize it or not.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. And that wraps up this segment of Auto News Talk. The auto industry is trying desperately to sell us the future, but they're quickly realizing they first have to make sure we can actually afford to drive it off the lot and afford to fix it when it breaks.
It is a profound reality check for the entire global supply chain.
Definitely. As a next step, I highly recommend you all keep a close eye on the proposed Repair Act, because the outcome of that specific legislation is going to directly determine how much your next oil change and your next software update will actually cost you. It's going to affect everyone.
Think about that next time you look at your dashboard. Who really owns the data your car is generating every single time you hit the brakes? Thanks for joining us on Auto News Talk, and we will see you for the next segment.